working in the background. Nice to meet everyone here. So I'm Stefan Collenberg. I lead tech partnerships here at Clay. So I look at new data providers, new tools to integrate, prioritize them, get them ready, and get them built. So that's kind of my main role. But for context, I was a customer of Clay for about 2.5 years before joining. And so I know the platform super well, had run an agency and integrated Clay into our workflows. And then I love the product so much, so I hopped on board. Yeah, that's a bit about me, and I'll pass over to Xavier for a little intro.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Xavier Caffrey from Toronto. I've been digital nomading around the world for the last 2 years. A lot of it is due to Clay being a thing. I discovered Clay about a year ago, fell down the rabbit hole like many of you on this call did. And then fast forward to today. Right now, we run, I think we're a 6-man agency, something like that. 6-man agency. We help B2B companies with Clay workflows and stuff like that. And as I mentioned earlier, I am currently stopping in Barcelona, and this is now a perfect transition to let Balsha take it from here. Balsha is one of our team members, but I'll let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Balša Kosic. I'm from Belgrade, Serbia. And yeah, currently joining the call from Barcelona. I work for OneAway as a customer success manager, and currently I'm managing 8 clients. And yeah, I'm here to present one of our best results we got on a campaign. And yeah, also, maybe since we're all here together, one of our also teammates, Alex, you can maybe come and introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Where am I looking at? Hey guys, this is Alexander from OneAway. I'm the head of outbound here. Xavier is laughing there, but yeah, I know I have a shit ton of work to do today. I have a lot of Clay tables to build. I think that's why Xavier is laughing. But yeah, I just wanted to say hi, and I will talk to you later, guys. Have a good event. Bye-bye.
The dream team is together. I love it.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, also,
yes, sir.
fun fact, I'm also from Toronto. Also was a digital nomad for a few years, mostly also enabled by Clay. So Xavier and I have a couple things in common. But yeah, Xavier, just on that note, like, we'd love to hear your experience, like, as an agency owner. When did you get started? Like, what are some of your big milestones? Just, yeah, feel free to humble brag, tell the people how you've been doing.
Yeah, no, of course. So like many founders slash agency owners, the beginning was not easy. The first year I experienced a lot of like up and down. This is before I knew Clay was even a thing. And then last summer, actually, which feels insane. It feels like way more time has passed. But last summer, I stumbled upon Clay, got obsessed with it. The next 7 days, I locked myself in the basement, and all I did was learn how to use this tool. Then got pretty lucky. I closed a deal that I was chasing after for 7 months. This is something we'll probably talk about more later on this call. 7 months later, I closed a YC client. Then they referred me 2 other YC clients, and then things went uphill like this. And then as life and business goes, things dropped just as fast as they went up. Then things picked up again, just so they can fall one more time. And then the biggest shift that has been at the agency to grow where we're at is honestly the people. And it's a big reason why I changed, by the way, the name of our agency. Some of you on this call might be familiar. The name that I used to go with before, it shall remain nameless, as I hate the name. But if you know, you know, and if you don't know, you don't know, and that's fine. Consider that as a blessing. But I changed it to OneAway because I really feel like I was always one person away or one thing away from changing my life. And that's why having people like Balsha on my side, people like Alexander on my side, people like Hannah, who is my rock, by the way. Hannah is the first person I ever hired. She was a VA, and now she's so much more. I would not be here without these guys. And I feel insanely lucky that somehow my path crossed with theirs, and now we're here. So if I were to give a lot of credit to like our success, I would say obviously Clay is the obvious answer because we're having this call, but I really would not be here without these guys. So that's how I was able to get to where I'm at.
And just to dig into that, like you mentioned, there's a couple of downs. Like, how did you stick through it and keep yourself motivated to go through those downs?
Okay, So I'm gonna answer. There's a lot of ways to answer this, but I'm gonna give you an answer that I gave Balsha like literally yesterday. Balsha, I love you, so I hope you're okay with me sharing this. But I think you know what I'm about to say.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
But basically, Balsha, he closed the deal in 1 week. Mind you, that's not his role, right? But I was traveling to see him in Berlin, and someone booked a call with us, and I'm like, you know what? I'm very big on like if you want to teach someone to do something, sometimes you gotta throw them in the pool, right? And then they gotta figure out how to swim. So I said, Balsha, just take this call. And then he takes it and closes it in 1 week. So then Balsha's like, I want to take another sales call. And then he takes another sales call, doesn't go too well, which is fine, it's normal. And then we were talking about it, and he's like, well, like, how do you do it? When you have like a bad time, like, how do you overcome it? And this is the honest to God truth, which is, if we're getting a little bit personal, but I think it's kind of the point of making these kind of events. So I come from absolutely nothing. I'm an immigrant. I grew up in the Middle East and moved to Toronto. And my parents had nothing. They still have nothing. I used to sometimes to go to school like with no lunch. Like that's how, you know, the stories that people say from zero to hero. I was truly at zero. So because of that, and because I lived that life for so long, it's almost like in a toxic way. But it's like when I went through a downtime with the agency, in my mind, like there's no world where I don't make this work because I have nothing to lean back on. Till this day, whenever something bad happens, or let's say if I have to show up on a sales call, in my mind, a sales call means that I could potentially now make more money for the business and hire someone and then support the people around me. So there's no world where like you don't freaking show up and perform. And that can be very exhausting, by the way, because like I mean I'm sure some of you on this call, just by sheer statistics, 250 people on here are going to relate to what I'm saying. It's like that like survival mentality when you have it all the time is very tiring. But I would be lying if I said it doesn't come in insanely handy when times were rough at the business, and times still are rough at the business. Sometimes clients will say really bad things, deliverability issues, email will not work, clients will leave, all those like things that would usually make me panic. I really feel like now it's a blessing in disguise when I look back at things, like because of my personal upbringing, now this feels like a walk in the park. It's like, you know, like I can easily take it. So that is the honest truth. Like that's how I handle those downtimes.
I appreciate that. And I think like with any agency, like the kind of personality and experience of the founder kind of gets built into the culture a bit, and like just how you grow the business and how you run things. So like on that, like obviously culture is a big part of like what makes a company great, but is there anything else that like kind of sets you apart as an agency? And like there's a lot of agencies popping up. Like what is different about OneAway?
Yeah, I think one of the major differences is that we're constantly looking at ways to productize our service. So we've built a lot of automations and workflows in Notion. That's our go-to tool for project management. I know a lot of you might be familiar or enjoy using Airtable more or ClickUp, but I'm very big on if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? And for us, it works and it continues to get better. So I would say the very biggest, the very first thing that's a big differentiator is that we're always looking at ways to work smart and not just hard. So that's been one of the biggest differences. And then the other one is just constantly iterating and trying different strategies. Like some of you here might be familiar with us because you saw a post of ours that went viral for Adam Robinson and how we targeted his competitors and stuff like that. Like that, we took a different angle and different strategy there with even with the copy, it was like so freaking straightforward. And that's something Balsha will go over later on in this call. And those are the kind of things that sets us apart, is that we're never just like, well, this works and that's it. We're always like, this works, but what about that? And what about this? And can we adjust here? Because, and again, maybe some of you have heard this expression. It's like, if you want to win at this game, because this is a game, anyone who tells you otherwise is lying, you're supposed to look at it this way, and then life is so much better. You win at it when you're actually playing. And I really do believe everyone on my team doesn't work. Like we don't work. Like this is super fun. This is like a piece of puzzle that we're putting together every single time. And whenever we're jumping on these discovery calls and someone's coming to us with a problem, we're always like, you know, we're thinking about, ooh, maybe I could do this. Like there's an excitement that you can feel on the call. And I really do feel like that's the biggest differences. And I don't think, by the way, maybe unpopular to answer to this, I don't think we're like, oh my God, we're so different. No one else is like us. I can name a couple of agencies I absolutely love, and I think they're great options for people out there. And I really do think the reason why they're great options because they share that same a characteristic, which is they enjoy the hell out of this. And at the end of the day, I find it more of like a personal preference at some point with potential clients. And I actually say that on calls sometimes. I say, look, at the end of the day, if you're considering me or this guy, he's amazing. So whoever you like more personally, and you think someone maybe can make you laugh more, you're more comfortable with, just go with them. Because at the end of the day, similar pricing, we all know how to use Clay. We all look at it the same way. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of this, like agencies, yes, you're automating a ton of stuff with Clay, but a lot of it is a services business. You're building relationships, you're managing clients. Like that was kind of in the days before Clay, I was running client services at an agency. We had 35 BDRs, like manually personalizing emails, doing really high quality stuff before GPT. Obviously, Clay has changed quite a bit of that and how we approach things. So yeah, it was all about client relations management, keeping people happy, delivering results. And so on the kind of that topic of delivering results and like making things, obviously my experience as an agency very different from yours. Like what have you seen, I guess, change over the course of, I don't know, past couple of years, even with like lead gen agencies and what is evolving?
Yeah, I mean, man, there's so much to say here. Let me think about this. I mean, there's one really main component I want to address, that it's not just about lead gen agencies, but about like, I guess, like lead gen as a whole. So for those of you who don't know my background, also, like I worked at Salesforce and AWS as a BDR, and I'll tell you, like a lot of the sales processes at these companies, even though they're really big companies, they're quite outdated. And I feel like the reason why they're outdated and they can get away with it is because they carry such a powerful name. But we are getting to a point where, like especially now with AI, a lot of these like cool technologies and initiatives are becoming commoditized. So if you're going to compete, I really do feel like at some point the name isn't going to be able to continue to carry you all the time. So you need to do something different. So I think that the biggest difference I've seen in the lead gen space as of late is just how much time is being spent on triggers and personalizing, or not personalizing, making the messaging relevant. So I know like that's one thing Clay, for example, is moving more towards, like with one of the most recent updates you guys launched is the job title change, right? Like you're gonna have a Clay table whenever someone changes the job titles, that releases a trigger. And I find that to be the most dominant theme right now in the go-to-market space. Like I dare you to scroll on LinkedIn for more than 5 minutes and don't read a post that says something about, here's how you do trigger-based selling. And even we're actually finding it now when we jump on discovery calls, the buyers are becoming more sophisticated. They ask me that. They tell me like, I want to do outbound, I want to do it trigger-based outbound. People were not asking me this last year or the year before, to be honest. So I think that goes to show like there's obviously a great job done in the market about educating about that. And now it's just about execution. Like there are obviously great players in the space. Clay with the job title change, RB2B, Squid. These guys are really going above and beyond to give you trigger-based data, so you have a good reason to reach out. And how to reach out to them, that's a whole nother conversation, because I still think people mess that up easily. But I think the trigger-based outreach is the thing that's been overly dominant right now in the go-to-market space. What do you think, by the way? Like, do you agree, or do you find like you've been hearing something else?
Yeah, no, I very much agree, because like when we were running the agency, our differentiation was like, hey, we're going to do the most personalized and relevant outreach possible. We're going to spend a lot of time on each person, reviewing it, finding something that would resonate. And that was enough like 3-ish years ago. You like having personalized outreach, people would be like, oh wow, this is so thoughtful, so personalized. Like, yeah, like I'll take time to read it and get back to you. But with GPT and everything that came alongside that, like stuff like Clay and other platforms, it just significantly commoditized the ability to like dig through a whole bunch of information, find something that you could personalize with, reach out, and then you started getting disconnected personalization, where it was like, oh, super personalized, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the product you're selling. So it's like people just feel like, oh, this is just, they're trying to dupe me with this kind of outreach. And so now I think that shift in how technology has impacted outreach and personalization of outreach is now focused on, yes, like timing, relevancy. So it's like making sure that the personalize the email, so it's as if like that person is getting something very specific to them, but also make it relevant to the reason you're reaching out, make it relevant to the product you're selling, the problem that you're solving for a customer. So I would agree with you in terms of like how outreach and lead gen as a whole has changed. I would also say like the barrier for entry in some ways has gotten lower, but in some ways has gotten higher. So you look at tools, so you can buy Clay, you can buy Instantly, Smart Lead, whatever, get set up with a bunch of domains, like cost-wise, significantly cheaper than it used to be and more accessible than it used to be. But that's also led to like a lot of spam cannons, like very poor quality outreach, which has then made deliverability harder, which has made like getting really relevant, good quality emails harder. And so I think it's kind of raised the bar for like how good do you have to be at these things in order to actually compete as an agency? Or yeah, so I think that's my perspective on kind of how it shifted.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and so yeah, now I guess we were going to go into maybe the hottest takes about go-to-market. We talked about lead generation, but generally, if you think about the go-to-market strategy of a business, like what are, I guess, some hot takes or different perspectives you've got on this?
Yes. Okay. So I will actually, I am so prepared to die on this hill. So if any of you guys want to challenge me on this, like, you know, be brave, go off mute and let's talk. But my hottest take is that you're only supposed to automate the top of funnel. And then whenever someone showed that they're interested, as in they reply to you, manual follow-up. Because it's like, how do I want to find a good way to give you like, actually, okay. I love drawing similarities between business and relationships, because I actually find them to be very, very similar. So a lot of you here, whether you want to admit it or not, have used a dating app. Okay, if you haven't used it, you know about it. Okay, actually, oh man, I would love for one of you guys to challenge this. I would love to. So if you use a dating app, or if you've heard of it, then you swipe left, right, whatever, and then you match with someone. But when you swipe, you don't think much of it. You know what I mean? Like you just like you see, and then that's it. But then when you match, now you actually have to put in the effort and you talk to them. It's this closest thing I can like dumb the philosophy down with outbound, right? Because when you're doing outreach, all you need is evoke curiosity. Anyone who does cold email that tells you, oh, my job is to do X, Y, and Z, and doesn't mention that they're trying to evoke curiosity, then with all due respect, I don't think they spend enough time sending out cold emails. That's your main job. But when you've gotten the curiosity out of the person, this is now the time for you to really take it home and now write a very personalized message for them. Make them a custom Loom video. Like I'm not a fan, for example, of like these tools that say, obviously I'm not going to mention names, but like there are tools that tell you that they can automate, for example, the video background, or like, you know, you say hi and then the name changes. For me, that like, because it's gone so commoditized and it's easier to detect if it's you or not, then people are going to see through it. Whereas if someone says they're interested, and now imagine I make a Loom video where, and by the way, I've actually done this one time to try to close a client. I literally went to the mall. This was when I was in Toronto. I had a white t-shirt and I printed their logo on my t-shirt and I shot a Loom video with their logo here. How am I going to fake that? I'm literally grabbing my shirt doing this, right? And then I close the client. So like those kind of things, like you cannot use AI or automation for. So I think when someone shows interest, manual will always win. I even have like a whole guide, by the way, on this, where I shot a Loom video where I show you guys this, an email thread. I did this via email, not even over a Loom, where someone said to me, thanks, we're not interested. And somehow, I'm not going to spoil how I did it for you. If you want to know, message me and I'll send you the link. But somehow I managed to convince her from no to this seems interesting to let's jump on a call to contract signed in 48 hours. And if I'm lying, ask me for the link and have a look for yourself. And they actually ended up, after that, paying 6 months upfront, and now they're one of our happiest clients. So that's my hottest take. If any of you guys want to challenge me on this, I would love to. I think it would be a very fun for this webinar. Who wants to step forward?
No. I
can. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Oliver.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can put on my camera, but I'm walking in the forest right now. But yeah, I can only confirm that. So like all the money is to be made on the follow-up. And I don't think that can be automated that well right now. Like I see other agencies doing it, or I see other people doing it, and then you'll just get like shit. So why even bother, right? I think that's, yeah, like to me, sales is not as transactional as it is thought right now. And sales is all about going from no to yes. So you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table if you're not doing this. So yeah,
so
that was just
Olivier,
my take on it.
As much as I love your take, there's no way you're gonna go on camera, tell us you're walking in the forest, and not tell us why you're walking in the forest. Like, why are you in the forest right now? Do you need help? Do you want us to call someone? Why are you in a flare? What's going on?
No, I've just been 16 hours behind my computer, and I just wanted to go out in the nature a little bit.
Hell yeah. Oh my, that's that
Yeah,
mental
I
health
got,
walk, guys. If you guys
we
don't
like
do it, do
balance
it.
here.
Yeah, if you can do it in
Balance.
the
I mean,
forest, even better.
I was on a recruiting call right now, and I got lost, honestly. So yeah, I'm trying to make some shortcuts right now to get back on the path, and I
By the
already
way,
found it.
this is Olivier is right now living through, you know, when you hear one of your friends that went on a side quest and you're like, I have no idea where he went. This is Olivier. This is what your friend is doing when they go on a side quest. Love it. Thank you for
Exactly.
sharing, Olivier. Thank you. Anyone else wants to
Yeah.
step forward to talk about the manual versus automated follow-ups, or are you guys?
Yeah. Hey, Xavier. I'm happy to share an opinion on this. Can you hear me okay?
Of course, Benjamin. Go ahead.
Merci. Okay. So I think you're right, to some degree. Like personalized touch will always win, right? And you can feel that, you know? And I think there's two things to consider here. One, if you have so many leads that they're slipping through the cracks and you're not following up in time, then I think automated outreach is better than nothing. Because say like, even if you're a realtor, a small business owner, and you have a lot of influx of leads, if you're in a meeting and you can't reply directly, right, straight away, then that lead might go to someone else, right? If you reply even a few hours later, for example. So having, or a day, depending on how, you know, how long it takes to get back to that lead. So I think having a system in place where, as a backup, right, where you can respond to leads quicker and not let them fall the cracks could be really valuable. I think the second point is now, like we're seeing platforms, not necessarily new, but like make.com, for example, right, was app here. So with Make, what we can do is I can connect like your Instagram, I can connect your WhatsApp, your email. I can connect whatever platform your messaging leads to AI, and not only like make it sound like a robot, but we can then feed in, for example, like all your past conversations to make it sound more like you as well. So it doesn't necessarily like sound maybe too robotic, right? And then, you know, send them like directly to a booking link call, a call to action, so they can call directly with you. So I don't know. I think there are some instances like that where it could still be valuable, you know. But maybe if you have the capacity to reply to the personal outreach, you know, on that level, then sure. But I think I would still take a position where automations can provide a lot of value.
Benjamin, do me a favor. Do we have each other on LinkedIn?
No.
Okay, send me a LinkedIn request, and then you and I will jump on a call.
Sure thing. I didn't introduce myself as well to everyone, but yeah, I dabble in automations and I also dabble in corporate as well. But yeah, I'm really interested about this space, and DGen, like in the marketing fund, was like when I talk to business owners, it's like one of the most important things, right? Like, so yeah, thank you for the conversation and comments before as well.
I would also say this starts to get into like a conversation around like what is the deal size? Like what type of customers are you working with? Like what if we think about cold email, doing business to business focused outreach, selling software, selling larger contracts, and like the ability to get a lead is significantly more challenging. Whereas like I've got friends that do essentially like chatbot marketing automation. They do Facebook ads, they drive people to a chatbot. Chatbot's fully automated. They go through, they book a meeting with the person, and then it's like a personal trainer type of call, where that's the service they're offering. But the answers are so standardized, the ads are so standardized across the board that you can fully automate that initial interaction and like kind of meeting booking or meeting setting through a chat interface. So I think you bring up a good point. I think it also highlights the need for like, okay, what is the context of which we're talking about responding to an email, and like what is the size of opportunity and number of opportunities.
That's actually that's a great call out, and I'm curious because Stefan, if you guys forgot, because it was mentioned in the intro, Stefan was overseeing how many BDRs? 30?
35.
35. Yeah. So humble. 35. So we're gonna need to also hear your thoughts, especially now, like with the position you have with Clay. Like, what do you find to be a hot topic, or yeah, like in this space? Really curious.
Yeah, so I think like I see a lot of people posting about like, oh, like BDRs will be replaced. There's no need for them anymore. That like I think that is a whole like train of conversation that we see on LinkedIn, that we see in these kinds of discussion forums, and I don't fully agree with it. I think the types of tasks and the responsibilities of BDRs is shifting. And I talked about this especially near the end of the time at the agency and when I was shifting over to working Clay, I was like encouraging people to think about this, like look at the skill set that you have and start evolving for where kind of the future of the BDR role is going. There's going to be a lot more focus on cold calling. Like, yes, there is like people coming out with AI technology to handle sales calls, that type of thing, but also there's like FCC regulation that's banning like AI created voice in robocalls. So like maybe they'll next go to like just generally banning AI created voice across other phone lines. So it's like, yes, that type of technology is coming. There are risks to it. But I think as a BDR, that ability to have a conversation with a client to make a sale is, or at least book a follow-up meeting for your AE, that's going to be there. And I see a lot of people using Clay and moving to Clay because they'll say like, hey, our email delivery rate, it doesn't work with our ICP. It's not a good fit. Like we saw this all the time. There's certain industries, certain ICPs, email is just sometimes just so hard to get through, and calling is what works. People, maybe they're just not using their email very frequently. They're not on it. And so calling is the best way to get to them. So I think people looking at using Clay to generate a ton of email outreach, do that, handle the kind of like possibly lower potential conversion, and then segment the leads by priority into different flows for BDRs. So the BDRs call the high priority, high quality leads, and still maintain their cold calling. So I'd say cold calling is a big piece of it. And then also you're seeing kind of an evolution of BDRs becoming more technical, like BDRs that are able to use Clay and build on Clay and scale their existing work without having to do the manual personalization or outreach or like clicking buttons inside of a sequencing tool, but rather be a bit more strategic and thoughtful with the way that they use their time. And then the third piece I would say is like a focus on social selling. Like we look at LinkedIn, look at creating content, we look at having conversations with people, engaging in comments, like jumping in to a relevant post and then like following up with people in that thread. That is something that, yeah, you can automate, but it's also super obvious. Like you know when you look at a comment on LinkedIn and it's written by AI because it's just not.
It's bad. It's so bad. That's what it is. It's bad.
Like that is something that is still human. That is something that is still very, I think, good for BDRs to focus on. So I guess maybe some people would agree, some people wouldn't agree about that comment of BDRs are getting replaced. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
I think it's important to just quickly know when you said like when people say the BDR role is dead, a lot of it is for marketing purposes, right? Like it's such a catchy headline. Like BDRs are BDR role is dead, a cold email is dead, this is dead, this is dead. I've developed like a mental filter now to either completely block it or I will use it sometimes, but I will say it's actually not dead. And that's how I ended. But yeah, whenever you see that hook, it's usually just for hook purposes. But I totally agree with everything you said. Yeah.
And Bryce, curious to
Yeah. I mean, first of all, just to circle back on that, yeah, cold calling is dying. And I mean that very much so. If you go to LeadsCon, which is a convention that happens, I think it's biannually now or something like those lines. I got a client straight off of that just because they were a health insurance company and they were like, I don't know if we want to do cold email. I understand it's scalable. It's going to be good. Fine. We're going to go to LeadsCon, see what happens. They came back after going to Vegas and they're like, we need this now. Cold calling is dying. There's nothing we can do about it. Vernoia Acts, all of these requirements that we now have to have for opt-in requirements. Just in general, how the FTC, this is in the US, mind you. Sorry, I'm Bryce McKinley. I run a company called Infinite Outbound and I have like probably 4 clients I keep turning ones away because I want easy work. Sorry. And it's just me and 2 other people. We're a tiny little agency, but we're doing great. But so it's a very large national health insurance company. They immediately jumped on and they've been pressuring me to increase outreach to replace their current system because theirs was cold calling, cold texting. It was auto dialers and it's dying. It's just not going to be a thing. If they're a large company requiring FTC regulation compliance with how they source their data, it's literally, we're talking like February this coming year. That's when the chopping block comes down. And cold email is pretty much the only avenue that's left besides maybe, I don't know, using Meta to acquire ads to get opt-ins for some sort of a lead magnet. Now, I did want to circle back on the whole idea having to do with doing automated outbound. I will say with lead magnets, I've had a lot of success with at least the initial response being automated. Because oftentimes if I'm building a framework of saying, okay, so I have this particular service or thing I want to give you for free that is of value, and they just want that thing. Like usually I'm saying like, let me know if you're interested in it. They say yes, and I just send it. There's not really a whole bunch to build on it. I will say that going after that, doing direct contact, not just being like, hey, following up on the thing I sent you for free, can you like let me know if you can pay us? anything like that is like an automated reply is not going to work. But those were automated. I had one where a client was a social media consulting company. I was getting a positive reply every 80 emails out. I had to set it up. I couldn't handle all the responses. It was just I'd turn off the sequence 2 or 3 times out of the day when it first started. And that was very effective. It was just, okay, here's the thing that you can do that's not going to increase the cost of your marketing budget. And you just need to apply it in all your videos. It was basically a short on what a hook is. It was very simple. It's like, here, go check this out.
It looks like you started a good discussion. There's some people in the comments that disagree with you, but maybe you guys can connect and you guys can fight it out.
Let's duke it out.
If you guys disagree with him, cold call him and try to get him on a meeting. I think
there you
go.
FTC, just look it up, man. If you're a small company, you're not gonna get hit. But these large companies, they have to be in compliance with these things, and it is coming down in February. It's a big deal. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the clients I have. Go to LeadsCon yourself. Talk to people. If you're small, then I could do cold calling. No one's gonna hit me with a giant, problem. But like I can even, I'll pop a link in the chat for the most recent $450 million fine that was delivered to Wizard. Was it Wizard something? I'll get the data.
Well, guys, I know what my next LinkedIn post is going to be. Thank you, Bryce, for the inspo. That's great. But real quick, just speaking about getting a lot of results by doing cold email. Stefan, is it okay now maybe to pass the mic to Balsha and then he can go over the workflow that we built that you guys probably saw from the headline?
Yeah,
Balsha?
let's do it. That was we buried the lead. We're hiding the gold.
So I guess that's the cake for this call today. I mean, of course, you would all like to know how we got 75 leads in less than 1 week, right? So let me start by sharing my screen, and I'm gonna explain the strategy. So tell me, guys, if you can see the screen.
I can see myself.
Yeah, maybe just click straight on the Clay table on the Clay tab, and then we'll be good.
So here we are. First, the strategy. So we wanted to contact the followers of a competitor. In this case, it was all the followers of our B2B. And there is a tool called Scrape Lead that we used to get the followers into a Clayable like this one. And here, then we started just to manipulate the data. We normalized the full names simply because we want to make it easier for the email finding tools to operate. Basically all the data that we get from the scraped followers, we send the LinkedIn profile and the company name into another table. And in that table, then we dedupe all the LinkedIn companies, just simply to not operate with duplicates. And then we start the enrichment process. Basically, what is happening is because we have one main issue. Based on these scrapes, we do not have a company domain. So we use the LinkedIn URL and we enrich for, the whole company profile. If we can find the website right there, then nothing else gets triggered. But we also use Clearbit if the website is missing. We finally create like a merge column just to get all the domains into an organized format and finally clean them. This is crucial because we need the normalized URL and the cleaned URL in order to get the similar web URL. And similar web URL is used in the part of the personalization. So what is happening here, we basically scrape similar web. We use Zenrose for this. And there is one key thing that I would like to mention here. If you would use Zenrose to scrape similar web without actually setting the proper settings, you would get errors. So the proper settings, if you want to get similar web data for free, basically, only Zenrose credits, you would have to select the options, premium options, that is the render JavaScript and the premium proxy. I guess, maybe it's a little bit slow right now, so we cannot see the settings, but yeah. So the render JavaScript and the premium proxy has to be on if you want to get the clean data. Once you scrape similar web, we just use a simple formula to extract the complete number of visitors the site has. Based on that, we just like run a few checks to see if they have at least more than 1K visits and if they have more than 1 million visits, simply because we maybe don't want to reach out to companies that are way too big or have too few like website visitors, as that is essentially the product we're trying to sell. Next up, this is maybe going to be interesting for you guys, simply because it is another way to get built with data using Appify. And why is this interesting? Well, BuiltWith is not exactly the cheapest integration. So if we use Appify, we could get all the BuiltWith data for practically just Appify credits. And yeah, the way this data is then organized, it is organized into JSON objects. So in order to get the matches that we are looking for here, and why do we even look for these matches? So these are all products that our client incorporates as features. So their product is based around having a lot of extra other stuff, not only just website identification. So they have heat maps, they have analytics. So if we could get matches of the software that... Sorry?
We were unaware of this date.
Oh my God.
Anybody has a question or?
Somebody needs to mute.
Seems like
Yeah, it was an accident probably.
Yeah,
no worries. So let's continue. Yeah, basically the point is to mention in the PS line that, oh yeah, by the way, just like our B2B's whole product is one of our features, so is Hotjar, or based on what is the match that gets mentioned. Like I will show you a part here, like it's also organized by the way how important I considered it, because let's say Google Analytics is a match on almost any website since it's free and usually people like to install it. We do, like this product did incorporate it as a feature as well, analytics, so it was also important. But in the logic flow that follows, basically, yes, so it was ordered by importance. If a more niche product can be mentioned, this is what we were striving to achieve. And yeah, so basically then just on matches, it's a logic flow to get to a sentence that looks like, so this would be the second part of the sentence. And yeah, we get a PS line, the final PS line that looks like this. So let's say we would open this here, and then yeah, we will get something like this. Just like our B2B's whole product is one of our features, so are the heat maps of Crazy Egg and the analytical power of Google Analytics. Like the complicated part here was just making it basically a waterfall of selection based on importance and based on what is available. So there are a couple of options that could be generated, and yeah, so just based on that, we create the final PS line.
And
once
Balsha,
we, yeah.
Balsha, how many leads are we at for this campaign right now, by the way?
Yes, I mean that's a great note. I think we're currently at 100 leads on this campaign leads. By reaching out to maybe 4,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to quickly highlight, because obviously like the table that Balsha built is great, and Balsha tends to go in a lot of depth, which allows us to get results like these. But if you're on this call and you feel...
code.
Okay. But if you're on this call...
work? Yeah.
Hello?
I'm muted.
You're good? All right. Thank you, Peter. I was just going to say, like, for those of you who saw that walkthrough and maybe you felt like, oh my God, this is a lot to take in, I sent a message in the group here because Balsha actually already went ahead and created essentially a clay template and a whole Loom walkthrough that you guys can rewatch and go through over and over again. Because again, I know everyone's understanding and time spent in clay is different. Some of you may have seen this and caught it right away. Maybe others were like, oh my God, this looks great, but I don't know what's going on, and that's completely fair. So if you click the link in the group chat that I sent, you can find it there. And another quick note I just want to add is that the strategy Balsha has like mastered. Like we're always doing it for our clients. I love this.
Muted again. Please down.
Honestly, it's all good. It keeps me fresh on my toes. It's fine. I was gonna say, We scrape a lot of like this strategy of going after followers of competition is great. If you guys want to do the same thing, we use a tool called Scrapely. I'm also going to send a link right now in the chat because we got this asked a bunch when we launched the lead magnet. So if you guys want, we're launching also a community in Slack, and we'll be sharing all these kind of nuggets in there. So this is the tally form if you want to sign up, and then we can send you all that information there. Just wanted to quickly jump in because I know we don't have that a lot of time left, and I'm sure a lot of you may have thought about that, so I wanted to quickly mention it. Okay.
I mean, just to also jump in quickly, I don't know if we do have enough time, but there is a flow of how this data then gets sent into the people's table. I don't know if you guys would like also to see that. Maybe.
Just,
See
yeah, a
what?
couple minutes. Maybe you can run through it quickly.
Okay, so then, yeah, like then we would get back to the people's table. And from here, basically what is happening, we just have a simple waterfall enrichment where we try to find the biggest amount of emails available. We double verify. We verify first on an SMTP provider like Lead Magic, and then we also like trying to like get the biggest amount of valid emails. We also use True Inbox as a catch-all validator. And yeah, this is then just like some data cleaning and so on. And when we connect the two tables through a lookup, we do a few checks, and basically based on those checks, we classify in different campaigns. So essentially what is happening, if we can, like, let's say we want to also mention their colleagues and follow-up emails and so on, based on that, it just simply gets classified into 3 campaigns, or yeah, so a campaign A, B, and campaign C. And yeah, so like basically the emails look something like this. So email 1 is not in this flow since it's mostly written in instantly, but maybe I can open for you guys one of these. Yeah, this is how it looks like as a follow-up of a campaign that really gets a lot of results. And yeah, maybe if anyone has questions, feel free to ask.
We got a 15-minute Q&A period, so happy we can dig into any of the topics we talked about today, the table that Bolsha went through. Yeah, open floor.
Let's do it.
Got some hand raises in queue. Can you guys see those, Stefan?
I can see it on my screen. I can see Leo, and I
Eduardo.
can see Eduardo.
Yeah, I'll let you guys call out.
Okay,
Yeah,
Eduardo, you want to go
first.
first?
Okay, I go first. So my question is, what is more, what's something you guys recommend? Relying on our B2B and sticking to one provider for simplicity, or trying to get 3 and 4 different ones? Because then, of course, you're going to have like potentially the same lead captured by 2 of them. So then you have to go into pricing when you pay for them. Of course, you don't want to, charge it double to the client. You would want to avoid kind of sending twice, right? So what's kind of your go-to strategy there? What do you think is best? What are different scenarios that you have considered?
Yeah, I think it and this answer applies to, like, you could have easily asked this question if you were looking at, let's say, data providers for emails, right? At the end of the day, it's all about testing. So I would actually recommend everyone on this call to watch. There's a podcast of Kareem, the founder of Clay. I can't for the life of me remember the name of the pod, but if you search it up, you'll be able to find it. And he explains how Clay was founded. And I think the idea of how Clay was founded can answer your question, which is, back in the day when you wanted to build a go-to-market playbook, you would subscribe to a specific database, and that database might say that we're really good at everything, but really their bread and butter is in only one segment. And Kareem noticed that as a weakness in the market and said, well, why don't we have one place where people can try out all these providers and see which one works the best for them? Even with email providers, a lot of the databases that they have, they might be great for North America, but not so great for Europe. And then another data provider for emails might be great for Europe and not so great for North America, right? So I think that to answer your question, like whoever's on this call, you have clients or just for yourself and so on, just test things out before you just make a decision because maybe you saw it online or something like that. And there's nothing stopping you from adding these scripts on your website. You can, like, we have multiple scripts that are running right now, and then it's just about seeing which one is outperforming the other. And then if you're tight on budget, then you say, I'm only going to commit my budget to one of these, to the one data provider that I trust and I've enjoyed using the most. So hopefully that answers your question.
Also, yeah, I'm also going to add that, like, right now in Clay, when you look at a waterfall, you can do like an email waterfall or a phone waterfall. As we launch more signals and trigger options, we're exploring kind of adding that same philosophy of waterfall, but to these for like website de-anonymization, that type of thing. So it's still very much work in progress. This is stuff that's we're thinking about, but like to solve that problem of like, hey, like how do I pick the best website de-anonymization tool? Well, ideally, you don't have to do all that testing. We can do the testing on large data sets, set a default waterfall order, and then you can use the Clay suggested waterfall, swap in your own API keys, whatever it is. So we're thinking about that from the same perspective, like all these kinds of providers and tools that allow you to get certain signals, doing that through a waterfall.
Do you have an expected date for that? Sorry.
I don't. I can just say that it's something that we're working on, and will be more details coming soon. But right now we're starting with the job changers signal and like introducing that, improving the coverage and quality there, and then moving to other signals.
Thank you very much.
Leo, do you want to jump in with your question?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Xavier and team, for sharing. Very valuable. Just as you've shared the personalization and the data scraping, do you think it's relevant to, I mean, what was the value proposition in that campaign? Only if you can, if it was relevant.
Yeah, the value proposition in the campaign, since it is basically targeting the competition's followers, right? So the followers of the competition, they're very familiar with the disadvantages of that product. So basically, the first line is maybe mentioning, like, trying to trigger an emotion with regards to the disadvantage of using that product. And then the second line, which is basically your value proposition, would be based on your differentiation in towards that product. So just trying to create this difference, and this is why I think this campaign was like very successful, mostly because we evoke emotion in the first line and then we differentiate, and it gets people thinking. That's it. So that's why I think we got very good results.
Yep.
Thank you. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Also, I do want to quickly mention, because Stefan asked this earlier on the call. Stefan, you asked me in the very beginning how I was able to go through when business was down and I'm struggling, and I just see his beautiful face popped up on my screen. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for, and he's smiling because he knows I'm about to drop his name, is Arturo. Arturo is the absolute GOAT. I swear to God, I would not, like, I didn't know anything about Clay, and this guy would answer all my questions. I would not be here without him as well. So I want to give him a quick shout out because I see him. Heart emojis. So yeah, I had to do that real quick. Yeah, shout out Arturo, the absolute GOAT, the future CEO of the company. I put money on it. I made that prediction like 4 months ago. Yeah.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, it's always been great jumping over and just checking out all the different use cases that he had at the time. Really opened up my mind as well, because I mean, you're the creative one, you're the one implementing strategies for others. So just making sure that we can actually make it work and automate everything through Clay. That was
too humble.
Yeah,
way too humble.
That was amazing.
Way too humble.
Yeah,
all right, guys, we still have a bit of time.
Everyone here. So yeah,
we still have a bit of time. If anyone has more questions, this is your moment.
Yeah, I'll throw in a question. I think so. What's amazing is that we're seeing almost like the democratization of cold email and of like lead gen agencies and the ability to, go down that route as an agency and path. So I think with that in mind, and my question is, how do you differentiate and become the best at, being a lead gen, at generating leads as a result, right? For your clients? Does it come down to your technical know-how of the tools and how to use Clay and how to use the tech stack? Does it come down to your copy and your ability to write, specific, to capture your prospect's attention and to get a response? Or does it come down to how you filter and segment your leads? How do you think, what will make you the best lead gen agency?
So you're actually asking two questions in one. And this is one of my favorite questions. This is like literally an obsession I have right now internally that I talk to my team about all the time. The two questions you're asking, and they're actually very different, okay? Because you're asking, how can you be the best lead gen agency? But then you're also asking, how can you be the best at fulfillment? And here's a fun fact for you. Like, you don't need to be great at fulfillment to be a great lead gen agency. This is the harsh truth, by the way. If no one wants to say this to you, I'll be the one to say it to you. And the reason is because I'm sure we all know either a product, like something tangible, or a software that you look at your friend, you're like, why on earth are you still paying for this, right? I know when I said this, some of you may have like saw something, right? And the reason why they still pay for it, and this is the answer, how can you be the best lead gen agency? It's about, like, a lot of it is about your position and branding. What's the story that you tell? It's kind of like, yes. If you don't have a proper story, if you're just a lead gen agency, you're not going to be the best. Because when you ask what's the best lead gen agency, that carries a lot of weight. And I really do believe this. I will also die on this hill. You can't be the best lead gen agency if you're just great at results. If you want to be the top of the top, then you better be checking off every single box. That means branding, that means website, that means 1, 2, and 3. So that's that. And then in terms of client fulfillment, that's so hard to answer in the time that we have left, because it depends on who you're targeting. Who are your clients? What industry are they in? And then what kind of copy are you testing? And we all know that the copy that works now probably didn't work a couple of years ago, and vice versa. And then probably it might not work in a couple of years. So in terms of client fulfillment, like if I were to give you a silver bullet right now on this call, I'd say just do the basics. Like, get really good at the basics. Understand how to set up a proper infrastructure, understand the spammers that you don't want to use, understand how to build a proper lead list, understand how to use Clay so you can scrape data and map it up. If you do that, you are going to get results. Like, it's just going to happen. There's no world where it doesn't happen. So that's the silver bullet answer. But if you want to dig a little bit deeper, like I said, I'm happy to have a chat with you, by the way. Send me a LinkedIn connection request, and then we can see what you're working on in your world, and I can give you my advice based on the last 2 years that I've done.
Sure. No,
also,
that makes sense. I appreciate it.
To add my thoughts here, like, it's also like the best for who? Like, the best lead gen agency is not necessarily like the best for every single possible type of lead generation and every type of client. So I would say picking like an industry or a type of product to focus in and drill in on and get very specialized and good at that type of service for that type of company. It's the same as like if you're consulting clients on like, hey, how do you stand out? How do you differentiate in the market? It's like, okay, well, what is your unique value proposition to a very specific group of people? And get very narrow rather than just trying to be broad and kind of be good for a lot of people.
Great. We got 5 minutes left, just doing a quick time check. So Mark, let's do your question real quick, and then I'll just have some announcements at the end.
Thanks, Peter. So I'm coming at this as a co-founder, and we were building this whole platform to kind of help self-employed people get access to benefits and run their taxes and all this type of thing. And, like, part of me is like intimidated that with self-employed people, like, there's one contact at one business with one. Like, how do you make sure to not burn that relationship in a way where you're like, like you probably have like 1 or 2 chances before you're like, oh, screw these guys. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on like making sure that you are approaching this wisely. Cause like I literally found all 25,000 like self-employed people in California and Arizona where we're launching. It's like, oh crap. Now I'm like a little intimidated by that.
Yeah. So I would say the best golden piece of advice I got, and now I give to everyone, is that like, be aware that all of us, you, me, everyone on this call, we have a goldfish memory. We all do. If I challenge you right now, name the last cold email you got. Who sent that to you? Exactly. So don't overstress. Like, if I send a cold email on Monday and I send it again on Wednesday, the way we do things over here is that we either do 2 or 3 contact touch points. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just to make this easy math. And then we don't talk to them for 10 business days. So like 2 weeks, if we want to be a little bit more aggressive. And then not 10 weeks, 10 days, 10 business days, guys. Oh my God. So 2 weeks. And then reach out to them again. If you want to take a bigger step back, 3 weeks, reach out to them again. I promise you, they have no idea who you are. Like, that's the best feeling I get when I'm like, I'm actually nobody. Like even I'm having this call with you guys. A lot of you signed up. Great. I'm still a no one. Like, you know, like people don't know who I am. Like that. If you really understand that, man, you're gonna relax so much and you're able to do much better work. So that would be like the L1. And then the L2, like again, test, like try mentioning at the end of your email, say like, if this doesn't make sense at all, let me know, no hard feelings. And they tell you, leave me alone, then you should probably leave them alone. But if they didn't reply to you 2 weeks later, they have no idea who you are. Doesn't matter.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Xavier. One last question I'd have is, Xavier, is your company growing? Is there any opportunity for anyone here to work together with you, to learn more from you? Tell us about that.
Yes. So in the last couple of weeks, a lot more specifically, the last couple of weeks, like our LinkedIn has exploded. We're getting meetings both right, left, and center. We really do need a lot more help on the team. So some of the roles we're looking for are sales, client fulfillment, social media. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, please reach out. I'm gonna bump my link let me make sure this is the right link real quick, guys. If you sign up to this, we're going to add you to Slack because we're building a community over there so we can talk there. And then if you want to apply directly, then I also have this link, the one I just updated. This one, there's actually like a video that I talk about what it's like working with us, our company values as well, because we're really big on hiring people that have the same values as us. So long answer to your question, yes. If you're interested in working in this space,
the links went to private chat. The links went to a private chat somewhere, not the public Zoom chat.
Wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say nothing here.
Okay. So the link that you guys just got, that's to apply to work with us. And then if you want to join our Slack community, it's the link that I just sent. Okay.
Amazing. Love it.
Beautiful.
Agency growing left and right.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so Xavier is hiring, so check that out. Thanks so much for joining, Xavier. Stefan, thanks so much for joining, everybody. If you're new here, if you met anyone you like, add them on LinkedIn. Please join the Clay Slack channel as well. I put the link in the chat. I'll send out recordings and tune in because next week we have two fun events. We have a showdown between top 3 Clay tables that were submitted with Eric Nowoslawski, Demand Gen, and JB, John Barrows judging. And then on Friday, we have a Mad Kudu Oyster customer case study of Clay as well. All right, that's it. That's everything. Thanks so much for coming in, guys. Any last words?
Thank
Xavier?
you.
Thank you,
no, I
everyone.
mean, that's it. This was great. Peter, thank you so much. Stefan, thank you for being amazing as usual. And also, thank you for taking the time to build this Clay Table show to everyone. Take care.
Amazing. Have a
You
good one.
guys.
Good
So,
weekend,
Bye, guys.
everybody.
Bye.